So as a complement to our productivity section, I want to spin out something we're going to call screens, notes, and blue cards. And they're kind of related, so we'll have a little bit of fun with this. So it's some of those nuts and bolts things that I think, when I walk through my day being productive, I kind of pull those things out. Those are kind of things that I can't live without. And I want to dissect those back a little. Let's peel down, let's get into some of those. So let's talk about the blue card. The blue card is one of those low-tech tools on the heels of some of the high-tech stuff we've tried. And it's all about communication. Actually, screens, notes, and blue cards are all about communication. I know everything seems about communication, but this is effective communication directly related to productivity. So let's talk about blue cards. So blue cards are kind of the end result of we've tried a lot of things from communicating about what's happening in hygiene rooms. And really what it is, it's a communication about what's happening in the hygiene department and what's happening in the doctor department. Because obviously we need to actually make that transition to go, and a doctor needs to check a patient. So how do we do that? I mean, we went back and we did the old Theta-Lite systems, and I don't know for people that go back as far as me that know that. And then we went to walkie-talkies, and we had phones in rooms, and we had all these things that happened. And I want to tell you, we just ended up getting rid of all of that, and we went back. I mean, before the blue cards, we even went with small Post-its, because here's what's got to happen. And I always defer back to that all-important patient experience in that operatory, into that theater. So we're sitting here right now, and first of all, the doctor should know ahead of time where he kind of is in his schedule, but you don't know exactly. So what we use the blue card for, it's a communication tool that the hygienist will actually have certain defined things, and we'll share this with you. I won't break down everything out, but there's some information in there that key us into which operatory a hygiene check is up, maybe who the doctor of note is if you have multiple doctors in your office. Does the patient have insurance? These are all kind of checked off on this blue card. A dry erase blue card is something as simple and as low tech as that. And when the patient was finished in time, in minutes, 6:14, in other words, 14 minutes after 6, whatever that is, which keys us into when the patient was completed their treatment. So what we do with that, and then if there's any special concerns in there. So what happens with this nice blue card is it's slipped in behind. In our operatories, the access is from in behind. The patient is facing out. And this, by design, so any information that has to come from somewhere else in the office where we're working on this patient who deserves all our attention, there's things happening behind the patient, and the blue card is a hallmark of that. That blue card slips in, right away I know that there's a check in Op 9 that's my patient. The patient has insurance. That's just, I mean, it's not important, but it is important, but the patient has insurance. The patient has a concern. It's a scaling, it's a re-exam, it's a new patient, and we know at least right now when the patient was ready to be checked, so that comes in, and it only comes in at the end of the visit. A lot of these don't come in because you go, doctor, and check when you can. You should be aware that you're getting near the end of some of these checks. That comes down, and the patient should never wait more than 5 minutes. So you have to be aware. So this slips in, but here's the interesting thing when it slips in. It doesn't interfere with what's happening on that treatment. There's nothing worse when you're working on a patient, you're in that zone, you're maybe in a great synced performance. It's very much a performance with your assistant, with the patient. You're in a and all of a sudden somebody says, Dr. Bob, I have a hygiene check in operatory 9. And think of the patient. Oh, I guess so the doctor says, Mary, I gotta go. Well, I mean, great communication, right? Well, there's nothing better than verbal communication, right? Absolutely not. It doesn't work. This blue card slips behind. I'm aware. I know that patient's done their treatment. The patient, the hygienist or the assistant is not dropping that card knowing that I know the schedule until that patient's ready. There's a sense of urgency that I have which says I don't want that patient waiting more than 5 minutes, because that will throw the hygiene behind. It'll interfere with the entire sync that needs to happen. Remember, the patient doesn't want to be there more than 50 minutes. My patient deserves my attention here, so I need to get this in. This is where the walkthrough for the day is so important. But when it shows up and I know that, I look for a break point where I can get up from that patient. I should already know that it's coming because I'm aware of my schedule. My 2 screens are behind me. I've got those 2 screens. So the hygiene check card was an interesting thing that we've gone through. It's a dry erase card. It comes, I know, I pick it up. It's seamless, it's quiet, it doesn't slap down on the counter. I had somebody used to snap it down. Like, I don't want to hear noise. I don't want to hear that come in front of the patient. And literally I had one hygienist, I had to actually tell her this because she wanted to get my attention. She would take this little card and she'd snap it down. Poof! And I would look and I go, oh, so, you know, interesting. Just a little side story. And that hygienist is no longer with us, by the way, because she didn't get that coordinated effort. She wanted her operatory done, her operatory cleared. It was about her, even snapping her card down. Well, that doesn't work. So that blue card is a really low-tech tool that has wonderful, wonderful communication the old way. We still have phones, we don't use them in the ops because we don't want that thing ringing. We don't want the lights going off. We don't want walkie-talkies dealing with it. It's a nice, easy, low-tech, high-touch feeling thing that gives me lots of communication. Customize it for what you want. So that's my blue cards. Blue cards, 2 screens. 2 screens are important, and you'll see in the video, we need those 2 screens to give us the information we want. We need intraoral cameras, we need x-rays, we need cameras, we need appointment schedulers behind us up to date. We need information in there that maybe shows what an x-ray is. We also want to see where the appointment is for a lot of reasons as you're looking, people, not on the wall that the patient can see. Don't be pointing to stuff on the wall where the patient has to crane to look over your shoulder. When it's behind the patient, so much information can come on those 2 screens, from diagnostic x-rays to diagnostic photos to an appointment scheduler, so you know where you are in the updated schedule. So it's what's happening behind the patient as you're peeking and you're going on and you're looking, you're coordinating your day. This is a wonderful dance we're doing. Those 2 screens are essential. You'll see in our hygiene real-time video where we transfer over, we walk in, it becomes a big part of what we're showing a patient visually. Intraoral camera, picture in every patient every time on the screen. Nothing better than when you want to show the x-ray, there's the cavity on the x-ray. That doesn't work on its own, but it certainly works when you show a photo of that and they relate that to the big black shadow on the x-ray. Very different thing. How about when every patient has treatment done? You show them the before, you show them the midpoint with all that black stain under the tooth, when that filling is taken out. Then you show them, hopefully magnified, the beautiful after restoration. I'm going to tell you, you know what you're going to have to say to the patient? Don't say wow until you look. I'm going to show you. And then what happens when you say that, they laugh, but they look and they really do go, wow. Because it's wow. I mean, you know, some people will be funny about it. I say, don't say wow till you look. And they go, wow. I say, you didn't look. So it's your time at the end of this visit to showcase what you did. And I want to tell you what happens as a byproduct. You now have a documented record that stays in their record. So insurance companies want to know what you did. They can't hide behind the fact that they can't see it on x-ray. We want your clinical notes, doctor. Well, then your clinical notes don't match what we'll get the notes in a minute. What you had on your screen over here, your assistant didn't write the clinical notes. Well, I don't know, there's no cavity. We're not paying for it. So, you know, insurance companies, they're a benefit. So the patient's thinking, did you really need to do it? It wasn't hurting. You know what, visually, on the screen, all that goes away. No more buyer's remorse, understanding, they're gonna love you, they're gonna know you do great work, you're proud of your work, you get to show it, you sit back, you turn the chair around because the screen's behind, you're looking with the patient. They look at you and you'll see in the video, look. You know, and then when you show it, and better still, when you show your assistant's talent at tiling the different photos, sometimes there's like 10 photos up there. All the different, because you should be doing quadrant dentistry. Look at all the photos, show it, and you're showing it together. I mean, I gotta tell you, that feels great. Being a healthcare provider is one thing, but when you can show what you're doing, I gotta tell you, 2 screens, so many reasons, 2 screens behind the patient. And what do you think the patient thinks when you're showing this little wandering mouth and they look around and go, oh, look at that tooth. Right away, you know what they're thinking? I never saw a picture like that before at my last dentist. You know, it's really interesting stuff. To us, we were the first people to have digital x-rays. If you don't have digital x-rays, well, I mean, try and look at those little x-rays and show a patient a cavity. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely almost laughable when you think about showing a patient in the overhead light. Do you see that cavity? The thing is this big. And the cavity is like big as a speck. Do you see that on there? The patient's going, yeah. You know what the patient's thinking? I can't see anything. Okay, good. Do it, doc. Well, number one, if they already trust you, you already have the relationship. You don't have to pre-sell them anything. But when you show them what you did, wow. I mean, you got them. You got them for the right reason. So that's 2 screens. Last one are notes. It's all communication, as you can see. Everything can go under communication in this office, in every office. Communication is everything. So when you talk about notes, when you want to go and you want to form a relationship, you need to have the notes. You need to be preheated with personal notes, notes about what they've done, notes about their clinical past history, notes, notes, notes. So doctors, when you're sitting there, also hygienists that have an assistant in the room, when you're sitting there dealing with conversations, that's what diagnosis is. That's what explanation is. These conversations clearly are recorded, and they're recorded seamlessly by your assistant, and it just becomes part of the clinical record. And it's all there. So the documentation that you have needs to be fully documented in notes. This is your clinical notes, and I don't want to spend much time on clinical. You know, in the growth platform, we don't spend much time on clinical because that just becomes something that everybody does so well anyway. But documenting clinical notes, personal notes are different. So when I'm coming into that room, when you're seeing this hygiene talk, or when we're coming in there, my assistant, the support assistant, has already got a completely laid out high-tech pen and paper. She's writing. I know it's on the computer, it's on there, but instead of going back and looking in the computer, she's already got it in a very condensed form. She's got the whole day of every hygiene check. So as I'm walking to the room where I know the blue card came in, I got to go in there. I can't possibly prep my day in my morning huddle. If you haven't seen that yet, it's very good. You got to watch that. But in my morning huddle, I walk through just my day. The personal stuff is all documented. So when my support assistant's going in the room that becomes my treatment coordinator, she's already keying me up. Mary's in op 3. Okay, where is she? She's at op 3. You know, if you remember, Peter's her husband. He works at the high-tech thing in town, that new thing. She works at the casino. They got 3 kids. Last time they went to Cuba. Oh, and by the way, she's going to retire in 2 months. And she has a kind of a problem with her lip, and she always has a problem with her jaw. Fantastic. How long did that take me? So when I walk in, Mary, how you doing? How's Peter? So what's happening with that company? I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. Right away, she's going, holy cow. He remembers everything. How's the kids? You know, and let them talk. That 3 or 4 minutes has to be preheated with the notes. Everybody thinks notes are clinical notes. Sure, they're clinical notes. I don't want to talk about the clinical notes. I want to talk about the personal notes. They have to be clearly documented so they're transferred. In my world, I like to have that written down so my assistant writes them out, pen to paper. She remembers. So when she's going, she's not even referencing her sheet. She's talking about Mary. She remembers Mary. So it's a great conversation. I'm connecting. By the time I go in there, I can't wait to see Mary. Oh yeah, what did she? I wonder what she did in Cuba. So it's not about talking about what's going on in their lives, their people. It's about knowing where I can cut off to. I could talk forever to these people. And you should be doing the same thing. You connect with 1 or 2 things like that, especially if it's a new patient, never mind an old patient. You connect with them, you know, about something that you talked about last time or 6 months ago. They will look at you like you're, oh my God, you care about me. Trust, foundation of trust, relationship, very important. Now when you get into that talk over and you're talking about treatment needs, what you're doing, it's about them, they're people. So 3 things, blue cards, 2 screens, notes, communication hallmarks, shown in that video. Sounds like a real quick, seamless thing that happened in 3 minutes. Lots behind that, but easy to do. Should do it in every patient every time.